Hey, welcome aboard. It's Sunday, and in 5 seconds it will be 1 o'clock on the East Coast. Hey guys, Flood City Tooling, Dennis, Chris, welcome. Happy Sunday. It is a gorgeous day here in southern New Hampshire, and happy to have you here. I'm just going to get my chat set up on YouTube, and we'll be ready for YouTube's chat. That's all set, and we are ready for Instagram chat. Indiana John, welcome aboard. Nick, hi there. Chris, welcome aboard. I've been getting better at remembering names of people who have Instagram handles that look like nothing what their names look like. I'm working on that, I promise. Anybody on YouTube yet? I'm waiting to see some signs of life from YouTube. Let's see, not yet. I wonder if YouTube takes longer to spool up. But we're getting there. So how are you all today? I hope you're having a good day. Is anybody here in the Midwest? Are we still having a heat wave? It was a little warm yesterday, and it's going to be a little warm today. But it's not bad. It's not terrible. But I know in the Midwest, my wife was on a business trip, and just before she came back, it was 100+ degrees in St. Louis. Hamilton Pianos, welcome aboard. I think you're a new name, maybe? Or maybe I just realized you're involved with pianos, which is pretty cool. We have one YouTuber. Scientific Prototypes. Welcome aboard. Your username gets me unfairly excited. I'm waiting for the first comment. Oh, the first comment. Chris says YouTube is working. Art says hi. Good job. All right. The gang is rolling in here. Nick says, pretty hot here in Louisiana, but it's almost always hot. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're really plugged in here. So, this is the first time we're intentionally and with a little bit of forethought doing a dual live on YouTube and Instagram at the same time. And we'll do that some more. One of the issues is, like, when I go mobile in the shop and I move around and I'm showing things, that's hard to do with both streams. I'm working on it. It turns out that on YouTube, you need 50 subscribers in order to stream live from a mobile device. We have done that. So the next thing is a hardware problem. Hey, Tuck. The next thing's a hardware problem. And I'm thinking I can make up a board that has two devices on it and do that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Chris says YouTube seems to be a bit behind, but now I could use my computer. Yeah, so we're getting reports that YouTube has more lag than Instagram, and that's fine. I'm more concerned about the quality. Of course, if you're on YouTube and you make a comment, your comments are coming in a little behind. So, we've lived with that delay. Welcome aboard, Dan. Good morning. Sarkis Walter. Hi. How are you? Definitely great. Welcome. Foxburg's Faber-Coblin says YouTube is definitely a 5-second-ish delay. Chris says, but only if you watch one, you will never know science. Chris is right. Yeah, so you're using your computer with Instagram. Yeah, that's cool. Some people are really excited about the fact that we're using YouTube, and I'll tell you, there's really two facets to that. One is we're taking the content and we're putting it on YouTube, so that's sort of a accessibility thing for the content. And the second thing is the lives. Most of the positive feedback I've heard has to do with putting the content, making the content available, and that's cool. But it's going to be very interesting to see how, if we get additional people that don't use Instagram, and that's going to take a little while. Oh, okay, gotcha, Dan. No problem. Grismal, welcome aboard. So speaking of the ARW, the Amateur Redneck Workshop, we're going to need to get back to showing that some love. So stay in touch on that, Mr. Foxberg. You're welcome, sir. Deflagrate. Yeah, Deflagrate was one of the guys that had some positive things to say about us coming up on YouTube. And you're welcome. And that's awesome. So we got a nice horizontal YouTube picture and a nice vertical Insta picture. So if you're confused as to which one you're watching, now you know. So today there's a couple of things on the agenda besides just whatever you guys have to talk about. I want to add to the more rotary table story. There's more. And also I want to talk a little bit about volunteer indexers. So Nick said, here, this is interesting. Nick says, for me, a downside to Instagram Live is it ties up the phone. YouTube can be opened in a window while doing other things. True. But you can watch, apparently Dan is watching the Instagram Live on his computer. It's possible. So we know that. Foxberg says, with respect to the Amateur Redneck Workshop, he says, will do. I got to kick some butts and get it back going, especially now that the bash is over. So speaking of the bash, if you couldn't get out to the bash, which I couldn't this year, even though I've been trying real hard to find a year I can get out there, they had a very successful event. There were some interesting happenings. But I did notice in the YouTube stream, there's a 7-hour video, which I guess is the whole event. And I plan late, probably late tonight. I'll scan through it and see what happened. But it looks like they had a lot of fun and had good weather. Tuck Garage says, I would love to do/see more Amateur Redneck Workshop discussions. Take that, Foxberg. So that's good news. So, yeah, go give Stan Zinkowski at Bar Z Industrial, Shadon HKW is the name of his YouTube channel. Shadon, SHADON, KW. Shadon KW. Don't ask why, just accept it. Bar Z, the Summer Bash vids are right there. So what's my YouTube handle so you could subscribe? That's a great question. I should have written it down for you, but it's in the link is in my bio here on Instagram, which you can go to later. But it's Kinetic Precision NH. And on YouTube, it's 3 honest words. Kinetic Precision NH is the YouTube channel. Yeah, Foxberg says the video, half of it is paused with the graphic in between events. But that's what the fast forward button's for, right? So that's cool. Hey, there's my buddy. We're up to 1 atom. I'm going for 3 atoms today. I'm hoping to have a 3 atom count. We'll see what happens. We did have a question come in, so let me elucidate my comment before we take questions. Volunteer indexers. One of the guys said, "Gee, it would be a lot nicer if all those videos." I think there's 63 videos up or something crazy. I know it's over 40. It'd be nice if they were all indexed so we could find stuff easier. You're right. It would be nice if they were all indexed. I'm probably not going back to index the 40 videos. I'm lucky to have the 40 videos. So here's what happened. When we did the Instagram Lives, I did not use the option, my mistake, I did not use the option to save to device and then post from the device. I should have, because when I directly shared it to Instagram, it did not save a copy anywhere except inside Instagram. Well, if you've played with Instagram much, go try to download a video out of Instagram. They don't want you to do it. I figured out how to do it, and it's a pain. So of all of the Instagram Live videos that I pulled down from Instagram, there are 4 that are broken. I don't know why they're broken. So I sent a help message into Instagram to see if we can get them unbroken. We might have lost 4 videos completely. They're not available on Instagram. There's a still. You try to run it, it doesn't run. It doesn't play. So we're working on that. Otherwise, the entire back catalog and everything going forward will be duplicated on YouTube, regardless of any other choices we make. Okay, those were my 3 things. So if anybody wants to volunteer to be an indexer, we'll figure out how to make that happen. Yeah, Chris. Chris says, "You sent a help message to Instagram," and then he laughs maniacally. Yeah, I did. It's better than nothing. I don't expect it to result in a fantastic result. Okay, so yes, and the comments live on the YouTube side. That is true, and we lose the comments on the Instagram side. And one of the reasons I repeat the question, you always see me repeating the question, and you're looking at the stream going, "Hey, everybody's looking at the stream. Why are you repeating the question?" Because when we save or publish the video, all of that chat is lost. On YouTube, all of that chat is kept. Just looking out the window? Okay. So that's an excellent point, Tuck Garage. So if you want to do any indexing, there's a way for me to enable particular users to have privileges to go in and do that sort of stuff. So if there's 40 plus videos, that's 40 hours. If you want to do it, let me know. If you're doing it anyway, if you're binging the videos anyway and you want to do the indexing, let me know. Okay. So let me take a question here before we get to the more story. So Indiana John says, "Have you considered doing this as a podcast? I just started one, and I can help you figure it out." Let's talk. That would be like a third outlet for the content, and I'm totally fine with that. The other thing I want to try to figure out, well, having a guest on Instagram is fairly easy. We've done that. We will do that in the future. Having a guest on YouTube, I think, is coming, but I don't know how to do it yet. And I know that I can't ask a guest to set up what I have set up here and be able to do both. So that's another interesting problem. So there's a whole bunch of you guys on your second cup of coffee saying, "When are we going to talk about machining stuff?" We're getting there. So that's my list. Let's talk about machining stuff. So we're going to follow up on our story of last week, in which we learned about my new acquisition of the Moore, see, I'm learning here, of the Moore rotary table, okay, which has come into our lives and is very exciting. So one thing that's exciting about this Moore rotary table is its 3-digit serial number. So my suspicion was that the 3-digit serial number indicated that this was an early model. I think that's a reasonable thing to assume. But then I started talking to Tom Lipton, Stefan Gottsvinter, there's one other guy, and I started, they basically said, hey, I have one, and I started saying, please send me a picture of the upper right corner of your calibration chart, because the upper right corner has the date of calibration and has the serial number. Hey, John, GLG Knife Works is with us. So I started getting that input. Tuck Garage says, more we have to listen to? Yes. So what I figured out was there was no correlation, there was no good correlation between serial number and the date of calibration. So I figured out that maybe it was recalibrated a couple of times. So those were questions, and I still didn't know the date of its birth. Is the one other guy Robin? Yeah, I did communicate with Robin on it, but I did not on serial numbers and stuff like that. But he has some interesting things to say. Robin said, and I think I'm quoting here, he said that he had to, I can't quote him, but he basically said he spent some time convincing the Moore guys that it's safe to use precision ground flat stones on their product. So that was an interesting tidbit. And Robin said that he's been in Moore, either getting training or doing a project or something. So he's been in the Sanctum Sanctorum. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, more to come from that. So we have us a 3-digit serial number, okay, and the serial number is 326, LRT 326. So I sent an email to Moore, and I said, I need some help. They said, we know you, and you do need some help. No, they said we could help, and I got a really nice guy who is the service manager at Moore. And I sent them all the information. I sent them some of the pictures. And he had some interesting things to say. He sent me an email back. Okay. And in which he says, hello, Spencer. We'll do some checking, but at first glance, it appears to be a plus or minus 6-second table. So apparently, making a unit that was a plus or minus 6-second table was normal. He said the special would indicate it was lapped to a best effort tolerance attempt for plus or minus 2 seconds. So apparently that was an option you can ask for. And when he says the special, he means right over the serial number is the word special. And my theory was that this meant a higher tolerance device. And see previous live and see previous posts. But in fact, he's confirming that. What it meant was if you ordered it as a special, you can get a best effort to get it to plus or minus 2 seconds. The unit I have in its last calibration was 2.9 seconds. And I'll show you that. I think I showed you that in the previous live. Which would have been something that an organization like MIT would have paid for, likely a 1960 table. Okay, so this is Mr. Michael Dick, service manager at Moore Tool, basically giving me his best shoot from the hip of where this thing came from. He thought it was 1960. He also sent me this really nice literature. Okay, I will post this somewhere, and it shows two models of the Moore rotary table. Okay, the first model is called a standard rotary table, plus or minus 12 seconds of arc, and the precise rotary table is plus or minus 6 seconds of arc. Model number, the first one was model number 1230S, and the second 1230P. Now, in the traffic on Instagram, two guys, yes, Chris, I did figure it out. Two guys said, "Oh, I've had or used one of those, and getting it around, there was no way to disengage the worm. So since the worm was always engaged, it was a pain in the neck." Okay, I found out the difference. The disengageable worm was standard on the standard rotary table, plus or minus 12 seconds of arc. The precise rotary table did not offer a disengageable worm. I'm guessing that there was some error that they couldn't control if they made the worm disengageable. So there's two different models. So just know that, okay? Also, the oil that is used for it is specified as Socony, which is an oil brand, 1409 oil. I went through this with the grinder, and I believe this is the same oil that Okamoto was recommending, and they also said, yeah, just use Vactra number 1. So I think Vactra number 1 is fine for this. But anyway, very interesting document. I really like the fact that the guys down at Moore have all of their old stuff. They're really good at archiving. Chris asks, did you find out what the round recess in the box was for? I think the theory that we came up with is correct. It's a place to, when you take the handle off to install the indexing handle, it's a place to put the handle. It makes a lot of sense. So the indexing attachment, which I also have, future content, when you put it on, you have a place to put the handle, which is pretty. We're getting to the shipping plate to yours truly. I lost you, Dennis. Expand your joke. Okay, so we went on communicating, and I sent some more pictures to Mr. Dick at Moore Tool, and he sent me it took about a week, and he sent me an email. He says, "Hi, hello Spencer. Found these notes. Looks like it was new in 1958, but could not find any record of the 1969 recal or recalibration. There are notes of that nature for other tables, but not for this one. That's unfortunately all we could find on it." So he sent this nice picture. Oh yes, of course, Dennis. I will ship it to you as soon as possible, but not sooner. So he sent me this nice photograph. Look at this gorgeous book of what appears to be a bound notebook, which was used to send out. Let me see if I can get this. This is the shipping manifest, or the shipping log for the LRT. I guess that means large rotary table. And there's the serial numbers. And what do you know? There's number 326. Okay. And it was sold to MIT, which is not a surprise. And that little blue underline right there, that's in the book, that's not mine, says special. Okay. It goes on to give, I'll just read it to you. It gives this is leaving Moore in 1958. It was worm and gear pair, serial number 191. So internally, they had a serial number for the worm and the gear pair. Then it goes on, the gear error was 2.6, I guess that's seconds of arc, and the worm cal was 1.0 seconds of arc. Initialed RC. We don't know who RC is yet. And April 18th, 1958. So I posted a picture to Instagram indicating that we did discover the birthday. And there's the birthday. Okay. So this was super cool. Really nice to get this. Beautiful picture from Moore showing this notebook. You know, naturally I want to know a million more things about, you know, do you guys have this notebook? Was this a notebook from somebody else? But in subsequent emailing with him, he said that I said some thanks and some nice words, and he said he would pass it on to the tool makers. So still a class act for a company. Here's a little bit of a zoom in. I'll try to show that to you. Let's see, YouTube is getting a good frame here. Okay. And Instagram, there you go. But that's just showing the detail. And of course, Instagram, I apologize for this being flipped, but that's what we got. Okay. So that was so now we have traced this Moore rotary table, LRT 326, from Moore. And oh, by the way, remember, if you go into the Moore book, Foundations of Mechanical Accuracy, this is my shop copy of it, so I can get it all greasy. And the original is on my shelf upstairs, brand new. Is anybody else experiencing choppy audio? I'm doing the best I can here, folks. So again, page 177 in the Moore book. Here they are making rotary tables. This is lapping in the rotary tables, and there's assembly line for the rotary tables. And right here you can see a whole stack of them. So we've now traced this rotary table from that room to MIT. And that's pretty cool. So we also know that it went from MIT Instrumentation Lab to Draper Laboratories, because it was basically a name change to name it after Charles Stark Draper. And then we're pretty sure, not 100% sure, it went from Draper Labs to Brothers Machinery in North Andover. And then we are sure that it went from Brothers Machinery to this gentleman who I have not named. And then from that gentleman to Todd, Steam Sculpture, and then from Steam Sculpture to me. So we have the chain of ownership pretty well locked down. Now, why do we care about all this stuff? Well, if you go back to our previous live, you'll see that we care about this because it was used right when the Apollo program was heating up. And this was in the program. This was bought by the project at Instrumentation Labs that was working on inertial navigation during the Apollo program. So it had to be used one of two ways: the Polaris missile or the Apollo program. And I'm betting that this was on the Apollo program. Okay, we'll get some. So I have reports of some audio choppiness on YouTube. We'll find out if that's in the recording. We don't know. So that's the story on the Moore table, and really nice additional piece of evidence that came in. That's fun. I am digging it. In a future broadcast, we'll get it up and running. We'll put it on the granite table and we'll do some stuff and take some measurements. It's a tool. It's meant to be used, so we'll get to that. So that's the story on Moore on the Moore, and that was what I wanted to share with you guys. It's pretty fun. If you're on Instagram and you look at and you're on your phone, and on the bottom there's a little question mark in a little bubble, and if you have a question, that's the best place to put it. Second best place is to put it in comments. YouTubers, just put it in the comments. I have plenty of room. It won't scroll off the screen. Chris says, it's hard to believe people geek out over sport ball games like we do over rotary tables. Takes all kinds, I guess. Yeah. Is there something going on a Sunday? I don't know. Thank you, Tuck. Oh, neat. So Nick says, very interesting. I have a couple of interesting Apollo-related estate sale finds. I will shoot you a picture later. Thank you. That sounds pretty cool. I'm going to take a sip of tea, and then we're going to pick up a question here. Okay, Tuck Garage asks, if money wasn't a limitation, what CNC mill would you get and why? First of all, I'm a little offended that you don't think it would be a CNC lathe. I mean, you know. So, yeah, don't worry, it wouldn't. I think if money wasn't a limitation, I'm going to bend your question a little bit. If money wasn't the limitation, the first thing I would have is a new shop, a new physical space. That's the first thing. And I would purchase it. Then I would go out and buy I'd buy a Kern. And I'm saying that for a bunch of reasons. Number one, it's all his fault, okay, that I know about the Kern, okay. Hang on, I don't want to. There we go. John Grimsmo, it's your fault, okay. But really, I have a neighbor who you guys probably know who works for Kern. IGS Dan is his handle, and we've had lunch together, and you know, he's been over here once, I think, and he's a cool guy. And if I wanted a Kern, I could drive over to his house, bang on his door, and say, "Get me a Kern," and he would. So he's the Northeast salesperson for the U.S. market for Cairn. Tuck Garage says, could be a live tooling lathe if you want. My question is always unlimited space. Yeah, the space thing is the big question. Yeah, Nick says sort of the same thing. If money is not a limitation, I bet there's a C-axis that spins fast enough to do lathe-ish things. And Tuck Garage says, yes, it's John's fault. It's John's fault. But actually, I think it might be John Saunders' fault. Notice that I am sporting, this was sort of, I left it unsaid, a Saunders Machine Works t-shirt. But I think I'm going to blame him also, because he dragged, if you know your history, he dragged Grimsmo to Germany, and Grimsmo walked into Karen with him and looked at a Kern mill and just said, sold. And that's how it all started. So yeah, I think I'd like that a lot. And there's two reasons. One is just, technology nerd, right? Of course, it's a magnificent machine, precision-wise. But also it's a high-to-high control, and the control looks sensible. And after you drive Fanucs for a while, a sensible control makes a lot of sense. Okay. Hamilton Piano asks the correct question: is lathe-ish a word? Yes, it is now. Let it be written. Indiana John says, what is a machining project that is on your list to make but haven't tried yet? So there's a few things on the list. So here's one that's been kicking around in my head. This isn't like top 10, but Moore used to make or maybe they still do, I don't think they do, but they used to make a little toolmaker's tool called a toolmaker's chair. It's a center finding device that looks like a little chair, and you stick it on the side, on a plate, and you come in with an indicator in your spindle, and you indicate side A and side B, and when those two readings are equal, you are on the center line of the surface of that plate. It's a little simple thing, but it's a machining, hardening, grinding, precision problem, which sounds really cool. Yeah, Foxberg says Ox did one a few years back now. Yes, I know. This is more of an exercise for me. It's an exercise for the student. Yeah, Nick also calls me out on Ox Tools did one. So that's a thing I'd like to do. I'm all geared up to do rotary grinding on my mill, and I've done some. I want to do some more. That's an interesting challenge. Also, I have this isn't a project from scratch, but I've got a grind all #1 indexer, one of these little rotary indexers that's very early. It also has a 3-digit serial number, I think, it has a 4-digit serial number, and that was considered very early for these. And the race in the main casting for the bearing got damaged. So as you rotate it, you could feel it bumping along. And it's not repairable by the factory. I'd like to repair that. So that involves making probably a special lap and then going in there and lapping that race until it's smooth. And one of the problems is that the hardening... Foxberg. Don't worry, I get it. It's cool. He was afraid he was sounding mean. You're not mean. So I'd have to make a special tool to relap that bearing and get that into proper order. So that's something that's been hanging around here, and that would be very challenging, and I think it would be a lot of fun. Is that what I use to grind tapers? No, actually, I have a Suburban Tool Grind Master, one of the very, very few tools that I've purchased brand new, and I have the rotary motor for that also, and I've shown it a couple of times, and it does a great job. I have some reservations about that tool. and how I was treated when I brought those reservations up to the company. I have reservations about my reservations. If something else pops up, I'll let you know, but that's those are some of the things on top of mind. Okay, Tuck Garage has a question for the audience, so everybody can chime in on this. What is the shortest height door you could fit a VF2? Haas states that the machine is 84 inches high, but I'm betting it could be shorter. So has anybody, well, let me ask you, Tuck, what size door are you trying to get into? Let's do it that way. Has anybody solved that problem with a VF2? Because I know a VF2 has been stuck in some pretty small places. My machine is sort of comparable to a VF2, and all we had to do on that one, I think I have 7.5 or maybe 8 foot doors, so that might be different. Tarsha Metalworks says, I'd be shocked. That's the size door my mini mill fit through. Nick says, does it have a side mount tool changer? Those are good questions. So when John Saunders visited me a long time ago, you know, those 2 years we lost, not good. Anyway, it was a while back, but he took a tour of the shop. I think he posted a photo from the shop, but we joked about the fact that we could probably squeeze a UMC 500 in here. I'm not sure we could have, but just about. And no, UMC 750. I think the 750 came out first. That's what we were talking about. So a 750 would never really have fit in here. So that was the big joke, that I was going to put a 750 in here. I'm glad I didn't, by the way, for many, many reasons. Tarsha Metalworks says, if it's the same footprint, I can check and DM you, but I think you pull the leveling jacks out, you can get it down to like 79 inches. So you know what? Get involved with your rigger also. I hope you have a good rigger. That is crucial. And I'll give a unpaid, not sponsored advertisement for Interstate Rigging. They're out of New Hampshire, southern New Hampshire, but they have some range of operation. The proprietor's name is Ed Wallace, and they're great. Interstate Rigging out of Newton, New Hampshire. All right. So Tuck is trying to get a VF2 in his garage. I think he'll do it. I think that should be easy. Okay, more questions while I take a sip of tea. I will use up the lag time. Come on, give me some good ones. By the way, we had a couple of orders for 4-inch stones that did not go out instantly because I was cleaned out of 4-inch PFG stones. That's what I'm working on today. Those orders go out tomorrow. Tuck says, I am typically my own rigger, hobbies and all, but we'll consider it. Thank you all. Okay, good. Indiana John says, I rigged all my stuff. It was a good learning experience, and I kind of lucked out, I think. Well, I would like to learn more about that. Tarsha Metalworks says, now listen up, this sounds good. I had a good rigger too, but word of advice, getting a forklift through the door obviously won't happen. They can squeak it under, and if you have a pallet jack, you could snatch it and pull it in. Or skates. So I've seen, so what the problem is that they could pick up the machine and go really low and get into the door, but the forklift is typically not really low. So I've seen them put the two corners that they squeeze into the door down on skates, and then come back, lift up the front, and skate it in and put it on 2 more skates, and then you're off and running on skates. Yeah, Tarsha's agreeing. So yeah, that is something absolutely to... So this is why I say talk to a rigger. If you talk to a rigger and you say, it's a VF2, here's my size door measured, and a picture, here's my approach, a rigger can diagnose that in a heartbeat. And I think that's a really good idea. Foxberg says, simple, tuck doesn't have the space. Hey, there's always space if you have a big enough lever. Yeah, okay. Indiana John says, do you have any good rigging stories? Yes, I do. I don't want to sound like I've been involved with rigging 1,000 times. I have not. So I lived one town over for 20 years in Pelham, New Hampshire. And I built a building there, and that housed the shop for 10 years, I think. No, it wasn't quite 10 years. But it was a great shop. It was awesome. So it was right on the main road, easy in, level, big doors because I designed it that way, dead level, smooth floors because I designed it that way. It was beautiful. Radiant heat. It was pretty cool. So when we moved to this location, and the delivery of my VMC mill was done by Interstate Rigging. I think somebody else delivered the Haas lathe back then, but that's how I think that's how I met Interstate Rigging, was through my purchase of the Sharp Vertical Machining Center. So, of course, when it came time to move and we found this place existed. I didn't build it. 3-car garage, 3-car kind of fat 3-car garage. I called Ed Wallace and he did all my rigging, and it was awesome. And the funny thing was that the thing he complained most about was this 2-drawer file cabinet safe that he had to get up to my office. That was the hardest. It took the most time, hardest thing to do. The easiest thing to do on that whole move was the Vertical Machining Center. He was like, whoop, 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 done. Now, I have a steep driveway. I've measured the steepest part of the steep driveway at 11 degrees. This steep driveway also has a curve in it. So as they're bringing my stuff in, that stupid safe came in, and at the time I had a vertical piston compressor, a Quincy. The Quincy came in, the lathe came, all that stuff came in pretty quick. And the last thing was the Vertical Machining Center. And I noticed Ed out there eyeballing things, okay? And he goes down the hill, and I noticed that he kicked his employee off of the forklift, and he took the Vertical Machining Center up the hill. So I'm standing, and I have pictures of all this from years and years ago. I'm standing there watching, and the VMC is coming up the hill, and Ed is at the controls, and all I heard was, the motor on the VMC. Right when he hit that section that was 11 degrees. And I think we all lost a few pounds right about that part, but no problem. He made it. He was super. So that was awesome. But that was a good rigging story. I don't have many other rigging stories. A guy came and bought my Quincy, another New Hampshire guy, nice guy. when I got my my Kaiser. And when he said he's bringing a trailer, so he shows up with this trailer. It was a nice trailer, and I had sent him all the dimensions, everything, and he shows up, and it won't go in the trailer. It's too tall. It's too tall because it's on a dolly. Right, I built a dolly for it. We ended up having to take the wheels off the dolly, and that took there was 45 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Not complaining, but you have to be ready for these things. Good question. A whole bunch of guys came in during the telling of stories, and there's a negotiation going for a Monarch in the chat. So welcome aboard, everyone. All right, we need more questions. It's 10 minutes before the top of the hour. A few more questions, and I think we'll declare success, and we'll see how all of this dual streaming went. I'm gonna have some tea. You should have some tea. I wonder who's going to be the last guy to join just before we hit the off button today. So, what else is going on here? Let's see, we just got Mr. I can't pronounce your very complicated name. Hello, sir. And hello, sir. Nice to see both of you. So we're taking questions, anything at all. You can't scare me. There's a whole negotiation going for a Monarch here. You haven't sent me a picture of this Monarch. Do I get a cut if you make the deal during my live? You guys on YouTube don't know what you're missing. Oh, so Dennis says he bought a Peter Walters lapping machine together with a friend. Uh-oh. I see some dangerous stuff happening here. That's awesome. I hope you will share some pictures. How do you deburr parts? Do you have a vibratory tumbler? No. I have 4 vibratory tumblers. I have one in the basement, little one, but I have 3 big ones. They're 14, 16 inches in diameter. I bought them from Kinetic Precision. They're made for the reloading market. And I have one set up with either plastic or ceramic media. One set up with polishing media for aluminum, which I've played with, but I haven't used in production. And I don't remember what the third one's doing. So yes, I use a vibratory tumbler. Wes says he came over from YouTube. The sound was getting pretty choppy. We're gonna look into that. Foxberg says the InstaFeed is way cleaner. Thank you. That's why we're here. This is engineering, folks. This is a good question. Tarsha says, obviously not here to throw stones. No stones received. But when Suburban discarded your feedback, was it our shit don't stink scenario or what? So I will tell you the story. We have a couple of minutes. I think this is my last story for the day. So I got the master grind. And the first, and I see a question came in on the thing. We'll take that. The first thing I noticed is that the stops, you're able to push a pin out, and then there are stops that you can slide on a rail so that you can put 2 stops for 2 positions. And those stops were molded parts. And they had a what do you call the line on a mold, the separation line? I can't remember the name of it. Somebody will know. Anyway, that line was right on the working surface of these 2 stops. I'm like, this is terrible. So I did not complain about that. It was it was the only fly in that ointment. So later I wanted to put a motor on it, and I started designing a bracket and designing a motor. And you know how you get to that point where it's like, I could spend more time doing this, or I could just buy the damn thing. I reached that point, and I don't, it really is situationally dependent, but I had other things going on. I said, I'm just going to spend the $800. So I finally ordered it no, it was a two-step process. I ordered it from a distributor, and either it took forever or something went wrong, and that deal got killed. So finally I ignored it for another 6 months or 4 months or whatever, and then finally I said, no, I really want to do this because I've got something I need it for. And I went directly to Suburban for a reason, right? And I said, I'll buy it. And it was a little more expensive, and I bought it, and they had lost their original supplier for the motors. And then they got, I'm trying to remember the name of the company, Baldor, I think it's Baldor, to custom make the motor for them, and it came in. No problem, right? It's like, I like Baldor as much as the next guy. So the motor comes in, and you could still smell like a solvent, like they painted it. I'm not sure if this is exact, but it's like they painted it. It just about dried, and they packaged it and shipped it. Okay, so it comes in, and the label, they have these metal labels with they stamp the numbers on it, not the really good ones, but the kind of flexible ones. And that label was just peeling off of the motor. And I'm like, so I got the smell, I got the label peeling off, and so it's like, okay, fine. So I took some of this green tape, and I put a wrap of tape over it so the label stays on the motor. That's all I cared about. Then I start running the thing, and I'm looking at the pulley, and the pulley that runs an O-ring that goes over to the master grind. The pulley is wobulating. I'm like, wait a minute. On my brand new high precision $800 motor, parting line. That's the word, Nick. Thank you. Parting line. I'm a little behind. Flow line, parting line, flash line. Thank you. You guys are flying in on the chat here, so I had paused it. Stefan, how are you? So anyway, I couldn't believe it. So I pulled this pulley off the shaft of the motor, and sure enough, I examined it. It was raw stock, raw mill finish on the OD of this pulley. It's a pulley. I get it. This is not, the ways of a Kern. So raw stock with a groove cut in it and a hole poked in it and a set screw. But the hole poked in it wasn't even centered on the raw stock. Yes, wobulating is better than eccentric. If it's said by somebody who is eccentric, it's even better. So anyway, I said, okay, this is the last straw. So I wrote an email, and I wrote an email to Suburban, and I said, listen, guys, I've been following you for a long time. I spent $2,500 on the Grindmaster. I have used product tools of yours. I said, I waited a long time to buy this motor. This motor comes in, the label's peeling off, it smells, which might have been the same thing, I don't know. And there's a pulley on my very precise... Oh, and I should point out, by the way, that the groove on the pulley was indeed concentric with the hole. Kind of not the point. And I said, this thing, and I get this email back, and I still have it. It's in my drawer, okay, from the vice president of products or something like that. And he said, yeah, here's another pulley. That's it. So on my list is to basically remake that pulley so that I can sleep at night. It was a piece of shit. And they were okay with taking a very expensive thing, okay, putting a piece of shit on it and sending it out the door. No good. And then the second thing was, anyway, there's something there that doesn't line up. So I wasn't happy. And I said, okay, fine. I spent my money. I learned my lesson. We're done. That's the story that you wanted to hear. We are at the top of the hour, but we have 2 questions. I'm going to take them super fast, and we're going to get this thing wrapped up. Okay, so yeah, here's a good one. Rapid fire. Indiana John says, any thoughts on building a vibratory tumbler? None. Buy it. Stop. Waste your time on the good stuff. Stefan says, I saw quite a few substandard items from Suburban in the last few years. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Why are you bringing up COVID, Tarsha? I'm trying to figure out where... Oh, Valdor going under? I don't know about that. Yeah, not going there. Okay, Wes says, if you have an optical flat that has been used, will little scratches affect how it works? I love this question. This is an awesome question. The short answer is probably no. So if you're using an optical flat, so this is, you could think of an optical flat the same way you think of a PFG stone or vice versa. And if you go to my videos on the PFG stones, you'll see in one of them, I take a carbide scriber and I put a big scratch on the PFG stone. And what happens is you don't raise a burr because of the material. It doesn't raise a burr. It'll chip out. And an optical flat's going to do the same thing. It's going to chip out, and you're going to have a loss of material. Stand by for graphics. I recognize we're going over 2 o'clock. I'm sorry. So I got my graphics operating system going. You end up with a scratch that looks like that, but it's not above the surface. It's not supra surface, right? So it should be fine. So most of the area, 99.9% of the area, is still that nice coplanar glass surface, and it'll work fine. I just bought an optical flat. You saw I bought one that came in a smelly, crummy, chewy box, and I kind of restored it. That optical flat has some very minor scratches on it because it was used. No problem. Works great. So on a piece of steel, and I show this in the videos on the PFG stones, if you have a piece of steel that you scratch, you end up pushing material up, okay, above the surface. And of course, when you use your PFG stones, you cut off those pieces and you're back to being a flat again. So there are some cases where I would assume, maybe those scratches matter, but in reality, in general, they're not going to matter. Let's see. So Dan says, all this talk of Moore, I found some books signed by him on eBay. Has anybody put together a small history about him or met the man? All I could find in Wikipedia was his page, Swimmer. I don't know. But the optical flat. Yes, think of the children. I think we got all the questions, and I don't want to take up too much time. So we're 4 minutes after the top of the hour. I want to say thank you to everybody who showed up for this great experiment in dual personalities, split personalities, schizophrenic streaming, and we'll see. And Mama Bro 01 is winning the prize for joining the live during the goodbye. No, I answered the question, Dan. Will the scratch affect the use of the optical flat, not the stone? No. Go use it. Stefan, thank you for being here. Deflagrate says the scratches will reduce the contrast of the fringes. I'll give you that. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Really, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I'm hoping we can tune this whole process up. We'll do more good things and pass around some more knowledge as it becomes available. Get to the shop. Do something great, even if it's just sweeping up. And we'll see you next week. Ciao.